Higgins, over to you in your own time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the House, Minister. I'd like to begin today by commending the more than 200 graduate medical students who wrote to you in October to highlight the extremely urgent issues and problems with the current fee model of graduate medical studies which we have in the state. In their letter, they highlighted that GEM students are not eligible for SUSI or any similar student financial support schemes, and that since 2022 have no access to any private medicine-specific loan services following the end of the Bank of Ireland loan, which previously filled that role. The yearly cost of tuition for these students can be between $14,580 and $17,760. And students do not even have a deferral option in terms of making payments for those tuition fees. These costs don't include transport or equipment costs, and fundamentally don't include the exorbitant costs of accommodation. Students have highlighted that entire sections of society are therefore precluded, effectively blocked, from obtaining medical education, regardless of the drive, passion, academic achievements, or desire they have to contribute in that area. The issue of people being priced out of education is one of fundamental importance, Minister. It is education a fundamental public good, and fees that diminish equal access to it are indeed a public bad, and something we need to address. But crucially, in terms of medical education being only provided, we know that the general education medical students may use the 1916 bursary, which you may speak to in your response, but the maximum amount payable under this is $5,000 per year, which doesn't even cover 50% of the fees. The Minister has previously referenced the availing of the Student Assistance Fund. Again, that fund is not a systemic answer in relation to the issue of access to a whole strand of education, be medical education. It is something that was meant to be there on a needs basis, case by case. The level of funding available to students is not sufficient to live on, and the level of work required for a GEM course means that students do not really have the time or capacity to engage in sufficient paid employment to earn a living wage and mean that they can pay for their wages, their tuition that way. Exorbitant fees and pricing people out of medicine, all taken together, is completely unacceptable and indeed foolish at a time when the Department of Health's own national task force has identified the need for an additional 2,000 hospital consultants and 1,000 junior doctor posts, that we need this by the end of the decade, and that the working experience of junior doctors needs to be improved. We need to ensure we're retaining doctors and that we have a pipeline that means medical education is accessible, a medical profession also which reflects wider society is important, because not only is education a public good, but health is a public good. And having health systems, having doctors who reflect wider society is part of ensuring that we have health systems that really genuinely work and work for all communities. We saw how important that was during the pandemic. It is very important to note, and indeed interesting to note, that one of the most impactful persons ever to enter the medical profession in Ireland, Dr. Noel Brown, himself was only able to do so because he received a scholarship for his medical education. And his lived experience in terms of the destructive effect of tuberculosis on Irish families and on poorer communities across Ireland was hugely important in inspiring him to take the actions and to become the person who eradicated it. Again, Minister, this is just an example of why we need diversity in our education system, why we need diversity in medicine. I'd like to know what steps are being taken to ensure equitable access in terms of medicine.
Extremely pertinent.